Hi, welcome to our Wisdom Wednesday. I'm on just a little bit early here to make sure that I go live at the right time. So in a couple seconds, we'll start our presentation, which is episode 79, and it's about building bridges. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a quick, fast, little inspirational episode, I hope. So let me change screens here and talk to you about building bridges. So welcome to this Wisdom Wednesday episode where we will be looking at how each of us are having our experiences or how we're behaving during these COVID virus times. Are you shrinking back in fear or are you building walls? Are you feeling a need to be separated from other things? Do you feel a need to step away and step back from what's happening in the world? Or are you finding a way to be a part of building bridges for all of us to help each other get through this? Well, we're going to look at miscellaneous quotes and wisdoms and hopefully receive some inspiration on what we can do about it. But for now, before we get into that, let's remember to live in harmony with the infinite wisdom that dreamed you into being. Let's keep being reminded to look at life from that higher point of view. It's where we learn how to not sweat the small stuff. It's where we learn to prioritize what we put our attention towards in hopes and intentions of creating a better world for each and every one of us and our families and communities and our nations and eventually for the whole world. And if you don't know me, my name is Carrie Fox, and my main mission in life is to be a constant reminder of our infinite wisdom connection and to share my belief that we each came here with the intention of having a grand adventure, but we get sidetracked. We lose our perspective. And for today's episode, that means finding ways to stay emotionally and intellectually in alignment with the infinite wisdom that dreamed us into being, and not to fall down the rabbit hole of despair or worry or fear. And remember, your thriving is my passion. So let's look into building bridges and building connections. I want to start with a quote from one of my favorite women. Her name is Jennifer Hough, and she said, "At every moment we have the opportunity to make up our minds about whether we want to be right or whether we want to build a bridge back to harmony. You and I have the resources for doing either, but only one option can occupy your energy at a time. So which option do you choose?" I love that. And from the beginning of time, man has chosen to build bridges, to connect with one another, to find ways to thrive together. Martin Luther King was one of today's prophets who said, "Let's build bridges, not walls." And this theory is not a new theory. Men and women of honor and caring and compassion have been talking about and supporting and fighting for this for years. For centuries. In its simplest form, it is looking at the difference between good and evil. Leaders of the world, of countries, of nations have encouraged us to build bridges, not walls, to conquer evil with good, offense with forgiveness, and to live in peace with everyone. Now, Nelson Mandela spent 26 years of his life in prison, after which he became president of South Africa. And at his inauguration, he invited the same prison guards who harassed him and humiliated him for years as the guests of honor. The message was clear. If he could trust them, then everyone could make a similar leap, launching a whole process of reconciliation to rebuild the country of South Africa. Great leaders have united. They do not divide, and they always start by building trust, not walls. And before you think of strategy or budgets or policies, you need to think about trust. T.D. Jakes believes, I like to see myself as a bridge builder. That is me, building bridges between people, between races, between cultures, between politics, trying to find common ground. And I believe we can choose to recognize when there is a breach in a bridge and choose to mend fences. Maya Angelou said, let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayers, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. And countries and organizations around the world for decades have been working together and joining together to try to build bridges and to help one another. So think about it. What are you contributing? Are you building? Are you supporting? Are you creating? With your language, with what you say, or with what you share on social media? What are you choosing? Jim Rhodes said, the walls we build around us to keep sadness out also keeps out the joy. And this makes me think we should quickly visit another one of my beliefs. Do you remember what I've shared in many of my teaching about our co-creative partnership? That we tend to get sidetracked into believing that we are the image on the left here, that we are a 3D human being at the mercy of everything that happens to us. And yet there is that small part inside of us that believes in God or higher power or something more. Or maybe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's indicated by this white circle. But what is really real is that we are the image on the right. We are a child of God. We are a mere split apart, a sliver of the energy that dreamed us into being. The bigger and more powerful part of us is God, source, the universe, cosmic consciousness. So when you as a human who has made mistakes clings to those mistakes, you are not trusting your co-creation partnership. And that means you are not trusting your partnership to build bridges, that you're shrinking back into your 3D humanness, where fear can exist and people can feel the need to build walls. Now, when I saw this quote, it took me aback for a moment or two, because I personally haven't experienced loneliness for decades. A long time ago, I decided to leave a relationship that was not healthy for me. I knew in the core of my being that being alone would be so much better than being with someone who didn't adore me, didn't respect me. I moved into a stage in my life quite similar to that of the monk who lives in a cave to contemplate the meaning of life, moving into a place where I was away from all distractions, into a peaceful and open expanse of time, to commit a huge part of my time being connected to and being in partnership with my cosmic connection. It's an absolutely lovely place to be. It's a place of expanse and openness and growth, and it's beautiful. But not for one iota of one moment in time was it or is it ever lonely. Now, I don't know what the importance is that some people think or talk about having social relationships. I hear people say, especially in this time of the pandemic, I hear say things like, people are social animals and need other people. But I know that that is not really true. Some people may have a belief that, or may choose to believe that, but it certainly is not just automatically true. Solitude is an amazing gift. And I have to admit, one that I think everyone should experience. Everyone should have the gift of finding the joy in solitude. Amy Harmon wrote, I kind of prefer being by myself. I kind of prefer being by myself. But I can't expect anyone to want to get to know me if I purposely kept myself separated. You can't build walls and then be mad when no one wants to climb them. So, when we build bridges, we keep the connection and possibility open so that when you do choose to have other people in your life, you just might be so much more selective, can I say? Another Maya Angelou quote here again. Love is the condition in the human spirit so profound that it empowers us to develop courage and then to trust that courage and to build bridges with it and to trust those bridges and cross over them so we can attempt to reach each other. We, as metaphysical beings in partnership with cosmic consciousness, are not called to construct walls to protect ourselves. We are called to build bridges to reach the lost. We must learn to look beyond the walls, to be leaders that create bridges. We are all those people on the other side. We are all brothers and sisters in the one tribe, human beings, planet Earth. Now, if you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your so-called enemy so that he then becomes your partner. And Mandela said this, as I walked out the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. I know so many people who keep themselves in prison by hanging on to their old stories. And that's, of course, another story. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to be so busy loving your life that you have no time for fate, for hate, or fear, or regret. We all need to be brave enough to live our grand adventure. Building bridges is a beautiful thing. We just need to remember to live in harmony with the infinite wisdom that dreamed us all into being. Remember, at every moment, we have the opportunity to make up our minds about whether we want to be right or whether we want to build a bridge back to harmony. You and I, we have the resources for doing either, but only one option can occupy our energy at a time. Which option do you choose? So the bottom line for today is you have choices. And I hope you found some of today's quotes or inspirations to be helpful or enlightening. And remember, if you want to see our daily inspirations and our weekly videos, our Facebook page is Harmony Enterprises with Carrie Fox. And that a lot of the workshops and trainings that I offer, many of them are based on meditation, because I so believe people can change their lives through meditation. They can learn how to get into a meditative state no matter how active or intrusive their ego or mind or thoughts are. I teach people how to get connected to the infinite wisdom that dreamed them into being so that they can connect with intuition and inspiration and co-creation. Now, many of these classes are designed especially for those who say or think that they can't meditate. So if you would like to get on the wait list to be notified when the next event is happening, you can get on the mailing list by sending an email to meditationproject@harmonyenterprises.net. And next week, our Wisdom Wednesday will look at what's holding you back from being the person that you want to be. So please, for today, for tomorrow, and for beyond, remember to live in harmony with the infinite wisdom that dreamed you into being. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, your thriving is my passion. So let me change screens here. All I have to say is bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day and week.